G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with some daily race B action from just this week. A few days ago, by the time you're watching this, I in fact did these races yesterday at the time of recording this commentary, so fairly fresh, but very fresh. If you remember my old days, it took me sometimes months to get videos to you, but now I've refined the process. I'm a lot quicker at getting these out, and I actually enjoy it a lot more than I used to. So I think all of that combined has led myself to getting the videos out extremely quickly for you, which is nice. Good for me, good for my channel, and good for you. Like, it keeps the races relevant. But here we go, daily race B from this week, Dragon Trail Seaside in Group 4. You may have seen my video yesterday with the Volkswagen Golf around Goodwood. It was the same week as this, it was the same week as that race. So Group 4, Dragon Trail Seaside, man. I've never gotten on with this track, so I almost go for a move on the Lamborghini in the first corner. I've just never gotten on with this track. I find it a very difficult track to maximise. Well, I suppose you maximise the track to minimise your lap time. I've found it hard to do that. Found it really hard to minimise the lap time here. I don't know why, but I just seem to put in a good lap, check the top time, and I'm like 1.52 seconds off. It's about the only track that I really struggle to get within about a second of the top 10 leaderboard. It's very, I don't know, I just struggle. So I always tend to avoid it. I'm always a bit off the pace. And, of course, you have the Chicane of Death. Oh my goodness, my relationship with the Chicane of Death is one of just absolute turmoil. Basically, if there's a race, like an FIA race or something, a race of significant importance at this track, I will hit the chicane, and I don't know why. I can miss it 100 times in a row in practice. As soon as I get into like a 10-lap race or whatever, I'll end up hitting the chicane at some point. It's so, I don't know, I find it so difficult, but, there is a but. This week, daily race B, in the races I did not hit the chicane once, and I think it was partly because it's a daily race. It doesn't hold as much significance in my mind as a FIA race does, so I think I can relax a bit more, and there's no points up for offers. It's basically you're racing for fun and don't tank your ratings are the two objectives, I guess, of a daily race. So I think that has contributed to my mindset on this particular session, and it just, I don't know, I didn't hit the chicane, I felt fairly comfortable. But we started off in second position. I put in a bit of a qualifying time, not the fastest. I can definitely go quicker than whatever lap time I did put in. And it put me on second in my first race. I expected to be further down the back, but I suppose I'm maybe on the top end of a lower split. So obviously if I improve my lap time or improve my driver rating, I'll probably find myself in the next split up and be further down in the field. But at the start of this race, I'm behind the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini, I believe, was on the top 10 leaderboard at the time. The Jaguar F-Type that I'm driving was not on the leaderboard, but it has proved itself to be a very strong Group 4 car at this stage, Jaguar F-Type. It never used to be as good, but it seems to have either not fallen victim to various nerfs that have happened to other cars, or it's gotten a bit of a buff. So, and the previous FIA Manufacturers Exhibition Series, Jaguar was a very strong manufacturer, and I think that's carried on a little bit here. It's the Jaguar F-Type, very strong car, but the Lamborghini ahead has always been a strong car, once again in Group 4, however it's a four-wheel drive car, so a little bit more understeer than you would expect from a FR car, or just a rear-wheel drive car, I suppose. So it's going to be a very close race. Of course, all these cars are balanced, so it is of course a very close race. But as we finish up lap 2 there, we get dived by an Audi TT at the final corner. I suppose this is technically the final corner, but it's not really a corner. But yeah, dive bombed by the Audi TT. We were firmly in the slipstream of the leader, and you can see now we're 8 tenths off the lead at this point, or 9 tenths rather, and that's out of slipstream. So I was quite frustrated with this Audi driver at this point here, who, you know, I felt as though I could definitely catch the leader just given the time, but I was kind of interrupted by the fact that the Audi just dived up the inside. Didn't allow me to take the apex as I'd like. I like to get a straight exit out of the final corner, so I tend to take a wide entry, and that just opens up the inside. A lot of other drivers will go for the tight, minimising distance line at the final corner. I like to take a wide entry in, especially in a race, because you get a good run down the long main straight. But yeah, didn't work out in this case, and I was a bit frustrated, and I was thinking to myself, mate, why didn't you just stay behind and we can both catch up to the leader using my slipstream? But obviously the Audi driver did not think the same way, and I think in this particular circumstance it's kind of acceptable, because in the daily races you do not, especially A and B, you don't have much time to get the job done. So essentially from start to finish of these sprint races, and they are in every sense of the word a sprint race, in every sense of the activity of sprint race, I guess is a better way of describing it. You do have to go for dives wherever you can. Well, not dives, but moves. You do have to get the moves done. You can't go, I'll just wait a couple of laps and get a bit closer to the car in front. Like, no. If you got an opportunity for a move, you got to go for it. And by the same token, you defend for your life to keep the positions as I get punted a little bit into the final corner. So there's a bump, and the Mazda almost makes his way past. He does get the position, but he just backs off. So that was about to be a bump and run, but he thankfully backed off and let me keep that position, and that just put me out of the slipstream of the Audi, who in the end did not catch the leader, and I did not change any further positions. We come home in third. So the Jaguar F-Type is actually a fairly solid car, a little bit understeery in third gear, so turn 2 it is, and the final corner it's very understeery, so hopefully we can just deal with that and reap the benefits that this car provides in all the other aspects of the course. So we start the next race on pole. So the Lamborghini has disappeared for the evening. It was when I did these races, so he's left the party. It's just me on pole position and Ritcon. I thought it was Ritcon in second position. He does have my slipstream, and that Audi TT, it is a very strong car in a straight line. It's actually a very annoying car to race, because especially in the lower splits, what tends to happen is the Audi will get into slipstream, even if it's got crap tyre wear. And I know tyre wear is not on in this situation, but I'm kind of extending the token a bit, extending the idea to this situation from a situation with tyre wear. So, for example, if Audi TT has 50% tyre wear, it's understeering all over the place, 2 seconds a lap off the pace, but you've got a long straight and slipstreams, and the driver slipstreams you, they're probably going to go for the move. They're probably going to get in front of you, and going into a handling section, it's going to be very, very frustrating to be stuck behind an Audi TT. So yeah, what tends to happen is the Audi TT will go for a move down the straight, basically because it can, regardless of whether they're actually faster than you or not. So that's essentially a bit of the problem with slipstream in this game. It's so strong that slower cars can get past you on no real merit whatsoever, and then just hold you up through the corners. But that's what tends to happen in races with tyre wear. It happens again in this kind of race as well. So for example, through the Flying S's in the middle of the circuit, turns 8, 9 and 10, the Audi's going to struggle. It's going to be understeering, as it's a very fast sequence of corners. You're turning quite a lot for the speed you're carrying, and the Audi TT will just begin to understeer. Of course, FF, it will understeer, and the tyres will wheel spin, whereas an FR car will steer quite nicely and can take a lot of speed, and with no protest from the tyres. So it's going to be faster than the Audi TT through the S's. So if this Audi TT gets past, either down the main straight or into this corner, which is, I guess, is another slipstream zone of the circuit, it's going to be frustrating to be stuck behind it, but hopefully that does not happen, and hopefully either Ritcon does not go for the move, or he gets in front and he actually turns out to be faster than me. Either way, I don't mind, as long as he doesn't get in front and then hold me up. That is frustrating. I find that very frustrating. But as we head through, we're almost halfway through the race already, so it just goes to show just how quickly these daily races go. And yeah, as I was saying before, just really screams a lot, saying you have to go for the moves basically when the situation presents itself. Coming into turn 12, very long curved exit of turn 12, very difficult to get right. Just checking my brake balance, I'm on 0. I actually knock it to -1, so this car, actually, yeah, another awkward thing about this car, I couldn't work out what brake balance to go. If I went further to the back, which you traditionally would in an FR car, so +1 or +2 or something, you had to brake so early, and the Audi TT can brake very, very late, so I had to improve the car's braking, so I knocked it to the front, but that of course increases the understeer, especially at this corner, and, where was the other one I said? Was it turn 2? Entry to turn 2, yes, it was. So, we knock that brake balance forward. We're going to try and deal with the understeer that causes. And you can see here, down the main straight, Audi TT has the slipstream. We're wide off turn 1 just to invite him to go around the outside of turn 2, but he brakes early enough to not even go for the move at all. Just park it on the apex. He's not able to get past, but he's still 3/10 behind. We've really not broken the 3/10 gap to him through all of this race. We're over halfway at this point, coming into turn 6. Meet that apex nicely, get onto the power. If you get onto the power too aggressively on that middle curb, you'll spin out, so just be careful. And heading down the hill. In fact, that gap has just opened up to over 4/10, so he's made a bit of a mistake on the exit of turn 6 as we head into the S's section. He gains in the braking zone, but just loses it as we head up through the corners, so it just goes to show Audi TT is going to be understeering and wheel spinning as it heads through those high-speed corners, and we come out the other side, and the gap equalised at about 4/10 until the slipstream for the straight took over, and he began to gain down the straight. You can see he gets very close in the braking zone at the apex of turn 12. He's at about 3/10 again, but on the exit we get a much better exit than him, but once again he has the slipstream, so it's a bit of a yo-yo at this point, as long as we don't bottle the chicane, which we bang, do not bottle the chicane, of course, but we do actually get a poor run. I think the Jaguar just leapt over and hit the inside of the curb too much. The inside edge of the curb, it just throws the car up into the air, so we have to go defensive into the final corner, turn 17, and onto the main straight. Again, this is going to be the best opportunity he has. He's very close, less than 2/10 behind. He goes to the left and thinks better of it, jinks back to the right, filling up my mirrors to try and put me off. But he now has the inside for turn 1, so he might get up the inside a little bit, but no, he just sticks behind, and I just run sort of slightly defensive to put him off, and he brakes too early, releases the brake and goes deep. And that is the crucial mistake I needed, basically, because I felt as though I was under significant pressure. It just broke the slipstream, and I was able to bring it home in first. So, very strong defence, but very fair defence by myself. I would stand back and look at that and go, well, that's harsh, but fair, I would say. And I managed to keep the lead. So we head into the next race. Couple more fast drivers have joined the lobby. So Ritcon is now demoted into 4th. I'm in 2nd with Rin 888 up in 1st. Is he a Craig Lowndes fan? Who knows? But coming into the first corner, he defends extremely aggressively, and that kind of sets a precedent immediately. I'm like, wow, okay. This guy's aggressive. He likes to aggressively defend, and that's going to prove problematic if we've got another fast driver of Matscar98 behind. I reckon he was born in 1998. Who's with me there? But yeah, I've got that car behind, and he's obviously very quick. If he's faster than Ritcon, who I know was quick judging from the previous race, it's going to be very touch and go as to whether we can actually hold this position, especially if I've got this aggressively defending driver ahead of us. It's going to back me up, and if it backs me up into a fast driver, we know what happens there. I get overtaken as he runs very wide off the exit of turn 10, heading down the hill, runs defensive. He knows that I'm going to try and go up the inside, so I move back to the racing line. He comes back over, so he's very, very on the ball. He's cottoned on to what I'm doing, and in many ways, I felt as though this 888 guy was driving with a very similar driving style to me. So I very much, my driving style, I like to control a situation to get what I want out of it. I like to control another driver basically, and I like to make other people do what I want them to do. So I pressure people, I move people off the racing lines. If someone goes defensive, I'll move them over all the way to the supreme inside of the corner, then move back over to the racing line just before the braking zone to try and get myself the optimum line. And I felt as though that's what 888 was doing, so it's actually interesting to be on the opposite end of that, and yeah, it just goes to show maybe I am an aggressive driver, but it's my driving style. It gets me to where I am, and I don't think I'm dirty in any way, so I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Matscar gets past, so I ran into the back of Rin 888 into the final corner, braking too late. Just allowed Matscar to get an overlap, and then 888 moved over to give Matscar the slipstream. So that just completed the move for him, and he unfortunately gets a half-second penalty as he kind of cut turn 3. 888 did up ahead, back at turn 3 of course. And coming into the final corner now, I get dived by, or it wasn't a dive, a legitimate move by Thrust Fellow, very interesting name there. And at the same time, Matscar got up into the lead. So that's a very good time for Matscar to take the lead at that point, because 888, I suppose the better place would be in the braking zone of turn 2, but it's a fairly good place. 888 will be behind, he'll serve the penalty, and it'll just open up the gap between first and then second. So very smart driving by Matscar there. But 888 almost cuts turn 1. There's a bit of contact between the two Nissans up ahead, and it just backs us up. Look at this, 2x2. Going into turn 5, it's going to be very awkward coming up into here as I get bundled off the track there, just along with Rin 888, and then coming back onto the track, I almost spin around, but I'm facing the opposite direction. I'm down into 7th. Oh my goodness. I suppose it was kind of just heating up that battle a bit. I actually got hit from behind. I did brake for turn 5, which you never do. But I got hit from behind, so obviously the person behind me was not expecting me to brake and ran into the back of me, and it just pushed me alongside the other Nissan just enough for them to bounce off the curb and hit me. I end up off the track, and then on the exit of turn 10 I just understeer off, so I got very dirty tyres of course from exiting the track. I just understeer off, get overtaken for 10th now, and I've now got this Ferrari hot on my heels chasing me down. He goes to the outside, thankfully. I'm able to defend that position on the exit of turn 12. And we're now firmly behind. Oh my goodness, look at the horde of cars behind me. Goodness me. But then coming into the final lap here, I just did a bit of a sneaky cut, but you obviously, it was actually quite noticeable looking back at it. We get a very, very good chicane at that point there, and we're in 9th. Coming through the bottom, or final straight before the final corner, Aston Martin dives down the inside, or looks down the inside. A bit of contact between the Peugeot and the Audi, and you can have a look. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, basically 7 cars up to second position, all in this pack here. And I thought for a second, is there an opportunity to get another position? But unfortunately, there was not. I finished down in 8th. Was there a penalty there? There was a penalty up ahead. So I think I finished across the line in 9th, but finished in 8th. Someone else had a penalty. So yeah, not the most ideal race there. Well, this is the next one. So I'm down in 8th now, so I think I've gone up into the next split, because I was up. Rin 888 is in 6th. He was on pole in the final, in the previous race, sorry. And he's now down in 6th. And Ridcon down in 9th at this point. So yeah, next split up. Next level of drivers are up in the top of the field here. A lot of Japanese players. They're very quick in this game. So we're behind an Audi TT. We discussed before about the difficulties of racing an Audi TT, but in this case now he has the slipstream of Rin 888. So he was good in a straight line. He's going to be even better. Although at the start of this race I could tell he's a little bit off, and people tend to be at the start of the race because he's still warming up, but it was a bit frustrating because he goes very slow into here. Minimum apex speed of like 157 kilometers an hour. You can normally take 175, and I was literally saying at this point, how slow do you want to go, mate? Because that was quite frustrating. I knew I could take way more speed through the S's, and I ran into the back of him, and it's just boosted him up the road a bit, almost out of slipstream range. Heading into the final corner, was there a bit of contact between the two cars up ahead? Kind of hard to ascertain whether there was, but we're now got a bit closer, so we've got a good run through the final corner in comparison to the two up ahead, which are now running side by side into the Chicane of Death. Not what you want to do, but they sort themselves out. Get through there nicely. Chicane of Death, you can actually take it flat in Group 4 cars. It's very hard to do though. So top times will take it flat out just. But yeah, it's obviously very difficult and very risky to do it in the race. Audi TT takes a strange apex up ahead as we're just understeering off, as the Nissan does up ahead. He understeers way off the track. He goes all 4 wheels onto the grass, so you could potentially have dirty tyres. Unless he kept a sliver of one tyre on the curb, then the game does not trigger the dirty tyre mechanic. But coming into turn 1, let's see if we can get a little bit closer to the Audi TT. We know it can brake late. Audi TT can brake so late. He broke so much later than I did and made a better apex than me, but heading uphill on the exit, sort of that low speed acceleration uphill is what the Audi's going to struggle with. So we managed to get way back up under his rear wing, and then coming into turn 6, gets stopped on the apex. Once again, braking a lot later than me, but it gets a poor exit with that low speed acceleration. So let's see if we can take a bit more speed through here this time. You're looking for the orange mark on the barrier on the left hand side. Nope, we run into the back of him, although not quite as slow as last time. You might have seen I ran into the back of him and dropped to 168 kilometers an hour. So it's about 5k's off what would be normal, I guess. So still struggling through the high-speed entry to the Flying S's, and we've still made no positions up at this point. However, he goes in deep, and I don't know what he was doing. He just turned into the side of the Nissan, and it just bundled him wide. It was 100% his fault. He ends up 2 cars behind. I don't want to sound mean, but kind of good riddance, I guess. He was holding me up, so I was kind of, I don't want to say happy, but I wasn't disappointed to see him run deep, and that is by no means an aspersion against Rock the Rock. It was just in this particular instance, in this particular occasion, I wanted him to be behind me, and he's now behind me, so yeah, I got what I want. But we're now in Slipstream of Rin 888, and I was actually enjoying racing this guy. I don't know, there's something about this guy. He knew how to race, and I liked it. He raced hard and fair, and that's what I like. So if I ever see Rin 888 on the track again, I will be very pleased with that. We seem to be fairly comparable pace as well. But coming into the first chicane, he hits his braking point nicely, takes a nice line through the first chicane, maybe just dipping a little bit too deep into the gravel trap. He was running defensive into turn 5. There's no way I'm going for a move up the inside here. If I'm going to go for a move, it will be in the braking zone here, but it's difficult to get up the inside as you're coming off a grip-limited right-hander. Coming down towards the S's once again. I'm now looking ahead in 5th. Ledge and Z. He's just up ahead, so I figured at this point, if I can bump 888 for maybe a lap or so, lap and a bit, we could both potentially catch up to 5th and give us both an opportunity at a high position. Whereas if we both fight for 6th, we basically relinquish the fact that we're only going to be finishing in 6th. I knew that higher positions were available. I've finished ahead of Ledge in a previous race, so I know I am quicker than him. Let's see what myself and Rin can do. So coming through turn 12 on the exit, the Chicane of Death now. Hit the first curb and hit the second curb, easy flat. And then my tactic was lifting off as we passed the marshal box on the right, and then just try and get as close to each wall as possible without hitting it. Kind of bit of a nothing explanation, but you know what I mean. You know how to take it when you practice it, and that's about the best way to explain it. Looking around the outside of Rin 888, he runs very wide on the exit, so I get that overlap here, and I think at this point I've now decided that we have not really caught that much time up to Ledge, and it's going to be difficult to get 1.4 seconds in a lap, especially if I'm stuck behind another car. So I do complete this move. He's looking up the inside of turn 1. He's got a small overlap now, but it's going to be difficult to go around the outside. So can I park it on the apex of turn 2? Boom, yes I can. He runs into the back of me on the apex, so that's what is meant by park on the apex. So we make our way ahead up into 6th, and that's where we finish that race. Ledge actually ended up finishing 2 seconds ahead of me, so it turned out in this particular race he was a lot quicker, and you can see the leader actually was driving an F-Type, so I have no excuses basically. I definitely feel like I could have been up there. If I had the slipstream off the leader, I reckon I could have kept with him, but I didn't. I was down in wherever I started, 8th or something. My lap time needs to be better, but you can see we finish up in 6th. So, fairly good few races there. Daily Race B actually providing the goods. Good, solid combination. It always is. It's a very common combination, so it must work, clearly. And, yeah, I actually enjoyed it. So I did those few races there and thought, yeah, well, there's a video on this, so that's what I've done. Do hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.